Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Medical Myths, the show where we talk about what not to do with your body. And today, my special guest is Purple, rhymes with orange. Purple, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello. Um, I don't know. I'm not very good with my self introductions, so
We have Purple. You can find Purple on the YouTubes, often very late at night for a lot of us here in the United States. You can also find Purple on the shills quite frequently.
yep.
Many places where you can find Purple.
Well, I do
Um,
two live chats every week. I do Wednesday at noon and Thursday at 10 p.m.
All right, so that is where you can find Purple on the interwebs. So today we're going to talk about some very odd myths because Purple was telling me that she wanted to talk about some more herbal type remedies. And so, looking on the internet for a variety of things, I came across this myth that I've heard of before, but it just was reintroduced to me, and I wasn't sure if Purple had heard of it. And it is, should you put onions in your socks for a variety of reasons? And so I figured we could talk about that today because, I'm really intrigued. Have you heard of this myth before, Purple?
I have not heard of it as a health thing. I've only heard about putting onions in stockings because it's a good way to hang them in the kitchen so they get air all around them and they don't go bad as fast.
Interesting. Well, I don't know if we're talking about the kitchen myths today,
Yeah, I
but
don't think it's addressing the same thing.
let's pull up this video and we'll just kind of react to this thing. So this is from a channel called Natural Ways, and we're just gonna watch it and then we'll kind of pause and react. So if Purple can stop me whenever you want to react, I might pause it to react as well. But let's just get into it.
Natural ways because going to a doctor is
Oh,
an
that's
unnatural thing to do, huh?
yeah, and this is very loud, so I'm gonna. In the audience, please let me know if the volume gets too loud or too quiet.
Onions may bring tears to your eyes, but the momentary pain they cause is easily outweighed by the fact that they can also help fight against diseases. The bottom of your feet are powerful and direct access points to internal organs in your body through what is known as meridians in Chinese.
So we already have something being smuggled in here. So this whole concept is based on reflexology, and this person just mentioned meridians. Do you have any thoughts on this so far?
I've heard of the reflexology before and this thing about that you can map your whole body on your foot. And yeah,
Yeah, so we have this map here of the feet, and it's just labeled with all kinds of organs. Like, even look at it. The spot for the kidneys is shaped like a kidney and a ureter and a bladder. And then, like, the organs, they're shaped very much like the organ, except for, like, the heart. It's not heart shaped. And some of these are in very odd places on the foot.
well, being on the foot at all is an odd place for most of them, but
Exactly. Um, so she's going to
are
talk a
the
little bit
different
of,
toes supposed to correspond to different organs here?
I think so. I
Yeah, the
think that's
graphic's a little small for me to read the text on the toes.
Oh yeah, so the toes, it's got like sinuses, it's got the brain, it's got like it lists glands as all one thing, which is
Oh,
funny because they have all of every single gland, which, as you know, we have like sweat glands, you have like salivary glands, you have like the adrenal is also a gland, but that's its own thing.
well, yeah,
So
because the thyroid is the same as the mammaries.
yeah, the mammary glands, the thyroid gland, like they're all glands, but they're all lumped into the same thing. So it's obvious that people don't understand what's going on here. And I don't oh, this is the diaphragm, this little tiny thing. I'm very confused by all this. But it's good cuz she's going to explain because I maybe I just don't understand reflexology enough.
So does painting your toenails screw up your glands?
I wonder. I mean, you're putting chemicals on your toes, right? That sounds like it could be a problem. I don't know. Let's find out what she says.
Medicine. These meridians are pathways to each organ with your body. If you believe you have nerves and a nervous system, you believe you have meridians too. It's basically the same thing when you interpret it and look at where the meridians are within the body. The bottom of the feet have many different nerve endings or meridians, approximately 7,000, that directly link to different organs within the body. They are
Okay,
Yeah, I think you
so
could turn up the volume on the video a bit.
a little bit. Okay, I know sometimes it's too loud. But she's saying that we all have these meridians. And I guess it was really quiet, so I'll turn it up even more. So she's saying that we all have these meridians, and if she makes a statement, if you believe in nerve endings, you also believe in meridians. So she's making this equivocation between what she's claiming and then what we already know in science, and saying that these meridians correspond to different organs in the body, and because the nerves travel through the foot to other areas of the body, then these meridians exist, and that the rest of your body can be affected by pressure points on the feet, which is an incredible misunderstanding of neurology and what the nerves in the feet actually
Yeah,
do.
I don't think that all of your nerves go through your feet.
They don't. So you have different types of nerves. You've got the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. And when we're talking about organs, we're usually talking about the autonomic nervous system. You have nerves that originate from your brain, and they go through the splanchnic ganglia and the splanchnic nerves to get to the visceral organs. Whereas the nerves going to your feet and your hands and your skeletal muscle, those are all somatic. So they actually don't go through these same ganglia. They go out from the spinal cord and out to the extremities. So they're equating all of nerves to be the same thing. And furthermore, we have sensory nerves, and motor nerves are going to be different as well. So the nerves that are sending sensory information from your organs and from your extremities are going to go up to your brain, and then it's going to synapse up there, and then your brain's going to send a response back to that organ. They're equating all of these into the same category of nerves, and we know that that's not true. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So which nerve is the most enduring? That when somebody's on their last nerve, which one is it?
Their last nerve? I don't know. I'm trying to think of certain nerves that might be harder to access. I don't know. But it's a fundamental misunderstanding of neurology and what happens when you stimulate these nerves. Like if you're walking on these rocks, like she's going to talk more about this, but if you put pressure on certain parts of your foot, you're more than likely stimulating cutaneous nerves that are sensory nerves that are going up to the brain. Those are not connected in any way to the viscera. Those are just connected to some larger nerves heading up into the spinal cord and then up into the brain.
Well, if everything in your body is mapped out on your feet and all of your organs and everything, it seems that walking is a bad idea and we should all get powered wheelchairs to save our bodies.
Yeah, great idea. What if you're walking along and you accidentally step on a rock in a place where your heart's supposed to be? Are you just gonna fall over and have a heart attack or go into cardiac arrest because you stimulated your meridian in a bad way?
Yeah, I'm thinking of a couple of times I've had to pull a nail out of my foot, and I mean, it's a good thing I didn't pierce a vital organ.
Yeah, it seems like if we wanted to demonstrate the legitimacy of this reflexology, we could do so, and we would have results in reality that would correspond to what would happen if we were to stimulate the meridians. Just like that, we would probably accidentally trigger a lot of these things to happen. And I've heard things that, a lot of these naturopaths or like more holistic practitioners like to use these as as ways to smuggle in the fact that most people have some kind of ailment that they're dealing with. Like at the very least, a lot of people have allergies, or they might have back pain, or they might have something chronic that's out of the ordinary, or at least a little bit uncomfortable. And they can use that.
Everybody's got something to complain about.
Yeah, everyone has something to complain about, and they're going to take advantage of it and say, "Oh, well, we can get rid of it because the reason why you're having this chronic issue is that your meridians are triggered weirdly, or like you have toxins in your body. They love to smuggle this in when in reality it's probably just our bodies don't work super well and everybody has something that's uncomfortable.
It's the result of evolution. That
Yeah,
nothing's really well designed. Everything's kind of ad hoc, making do with what was available at the time.
exactly. Do you want to see what she says about walking on rocks?
Yeah, I want to see what the rocks are going to do to my heart and lungs.
Okay, let's find out. I'll go back a little bit since the volume was a little quiet.
They are very powerful electric circuits within the body and are often dormant because we wear shoes and don't get acupuncture done to help the meridians or nerves in any way.
Oh, I get it now. So the meridian points are dormant because we wear shoes and because we don't get acupuncture.
So it's because we protect our feet, and I'm guessing this has something to do now with grounding, that your feet need to be in contact with Mother Earth type thing.
Yeah, but then if also she's saying that getting acupuncture is going to make our meridians more sensitive, wouldn't that be counterintuitive? Because I don't want to accidentally give myself a heart attack. But if acupuncture would make my meridians more sensitive, wouldn't it be better to avoid acupuncture?
That's why you cannot do this at home, and you must go to a skilled practitioner.
Sure, but I see them kind of contradicting themselves a little bit. I don't know. Let's see what else she says. Maybe she'll recover this.
This is why I recommend walking outside barefoot to stimulate those meridians on the bottom of your feet, as well as to ground yourself with the Earth's negative ion field. One of the coolest ways to open up these electrical pathways, meridians, and to help purify your internal organs without doing anything internal is to cut up onions or garlic and put them in your socks at the bottom part of your feet while sleeping. Onions
Oh
and
yeah,
garlic
now
are
I do
known air
remember about
purifiers,
sleeping with
and
onions in your socks.
Yeah, and good job calling that it was about grounding, because that is exactly what it was. So you're supposed to sleep with onions in your socks because it's going to open up your meridians, and you have to do this while you're sleeping because meridians will not open up otherwise, I guess. And onions are only powerful when you're sleeping. You shouldn't walk around in the daytime with onions in your socks.
So what if we had shoes made of onions?
That's a good point. What if maybe we should market onion shoes?
And does it matter if you're using red onions or yellow onions?
I don't know. I mean, they have two types of onions and a garlic in this picture. So I'm not sure. I think most of the myths say that it needs to be a red onion, but I don't know actually what they think on that. I guess we can find out. Let's see what she says about it.
when applied to the skin topically, they kill germs and bacteria, but also the phosphoric acid, the substance from onions that makes you cry when you cut them up, enters the bloodstream. It helps to purify the blood and kill any bacteria or germs that may be festering, waiting to give you the flu.
Okay, hold on a second. So yes, onions and garlic do have some antimicrobial properties. This is true. They have compounds in them that allow for that. But I don't know what it means to purify the blood. Like, when we're talking about purifying a substance, like a pure substance means you have that chemical or that uh, molecular identity and only that. You're getting rid of other compounds. But blood is a mixture. Blood isn't just one thing. You have a mixture of cells, you have a mixture of plasma, a lot of electrolytes, and so if you were to purify, what are you purifying out? What is I think they're being very vague with this term purification. I want to know what they mean by that.
Well, and she says it will prevent you from getting the flu, but I didn't think the flu was caused by microbes. So, basically, if she's saying that viruses and microbes are all the same thing here.
Yeah, and also she's saying that it purifies the blood and that it's going to get rid of microbes in the blood. Okay, if you have microbes in your blood, you are already screwed. Because normally when you get an infection, it's not septicemia. Like if you get microbes in your bloodstream, that will lead to sepsis. That's really dangerous. So, if you have microbes in your blood, you are beyond the point that onions are going to help you. You're going to be hospitalized, and you might die. So I love the misunderstanding that people have about medicine and how they have no clue how blood works or how microbes work.
Yeah,
Wanna
this is the kind of case where a little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Exactly. They're using just enough knowledge to make them sound like they know what they're talking about. But to anybody who studied this, there are a lot of red flags here and a lot that they're really not going into detail about.
And that's usually how they get you with the woo, that, they can throw in a couple of buzzwords that people only half understand and pull a lot of people in that way.
Exactly. So let's keep trudging on, see what she says.
Step 1. Cut up organic onions into slices. You'll want to use organic onions because they will be free of pesticides and other chemicals. You don't want these chemicals to be sitting on your feet and entering your bloodstream all night. You'll just want to cut the onions into flat slices so they can be applied to the bottom of your entire foot. Step
All right.
2.
I want
Put the onion.
well, I want to talk about that. Okay. So it has to be an organic onion because if it's organic, then it won't have pesticides or chemicals, and you don't want chemicals on your feet all night. Do you have
Right?
any thoughts on this?
Well, again, on the surface, that seems to make sense, but, yeah, little things like if you don't have any pesticides or anything on them, I think there's probably a greater chance of the onions having grown fungus on them.
Yeah, and I mean onions are a chemical. The way that onions have their antimicrobial properties, there are chemicals in onions. Everything has chemicals in them. So saying that you don't want to have chemicals on your feet all night, no matter what you do, you're gonna have chemicals on your feet. And with the organic onions, like I'll have to do some future videos about organic, but organic plants do use pesticides. They just use different ones. There's certain pesticides that are approved for organic farming, and oftentimes you need to use a higher concentration of those because they're less potent than conventional pesticides. So you're not free of pesticides by any means, and obviously you're not free of chemicals.
I'm also surprised that she says so little about the socks, that, there isn't any emphasis that they have to be 100% natural cotton or something.
Yeah, what if I wore synthetic socks? That's a good point. And then we have the reflexology thing popping up again. So so it has to be a disc of onion that covers your whole foot, which I mean it's not going to cover an adult's whole foot. So maybe what if you put do you need to put 3 rings of onion if you've got bigger feet, or is the one enough?
I don't know, the way they're showing it there, apparently if it covers the spleen and the stomach, you're good to go.
Okay, so we're mostly targeting the stomach and the spleen. All right, I got it. I got it now. I think this is making sense.
In your sock under your foot and sleep. As you sleep, the natural healing powers of the onion will go to work through your skin, purifying your blood and killing bacteria and germs, as well as absorbing toxins. It will also help to purify the air in your room. Here are a few benefits of cutting up an
So, yeah, so it purifies your blood and it absorbs toxins. A lot of woo buzzwords here. What exactly do they mean by toxins? What toxins are they talking about?
Yeah, they're being a bit vague on that point.
I mean, we can go into all that too. Maybe we'll see what she is.
onion and putting it in your sock while you sleep. 1. purifies your blood. Phosphoric acid from the onions, as it is applied and absorbed through your skin, purifies the blood. 2. Kills bacteria, germs, and pathogens. Onions and garlic have strong antibacterial and antiviral benefits, which kills bacteria, germs, and pathogens. 3. Purifies the air. This little chamber of smelly onion around your feet will purify the air and keep your feet smelling better and free of toxins and
Wait.
chemicals.
Wait. I don't know about you, but does onion, do you want your feet to smell like onions?
For some people, I can see it would be an improvement. It's not something that I would go for.
Fair. Yeah, so I mean, sure, if you want your room to smell like onions, then I mean, great. This would be a great way to get your room to smell like onions or to make your feet smell like onions. I feel like that's not the scent that I would go with. I think there are plenty of other scents that are better than onions.
Yeah, and I'm also kind of wondering about, the juices from the onion, like leaking out on the sheets and that, because,
That's a good point. That's kind of
you know,
gross.
yeah, well, and you know what it is when onions go bad and get moldy, so are you encouraging mold to grow in your sheets?
I was just thinking that, like, especially onions and any other types of plant, they're gonna have sugars in them naturally. Like, even though onions are savory, they still have a good amount of sugar in them. Yeah, if you leak that out onto your sheets or just kind of leave it out overnight, it could also, it could probably attract some bugs. That would be kind of gross.
It's okay, the bugs are all natural.
Oh, that's true. It's an all natural. Yeah, as long as there aren't any chemicals on the bugs, then you should be okay, right?
Yep.
All right, I think let's finish out this video. It's only got like a few seconds left.
Pulling them out of your body while you sleep. Now, if you like the video,
okay. So any thoughts about that video?
Yeah. I realize this is all stuff I heard about years ago, just none of it was worth retaining.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of the woo stuff here. You get a lot of smuggling in of reflexology, smuggling in of purifying your blood, a lot of nonsense word salad that sounds like science. So with that being our little warm-up, would you like to go into the next video?
Go ahead, let's see what we get.
Okay.
antibiotics.
So this is called Stop Taking Antibiotics. This homemade natural antibiotic is twice as effective. So looking at this title, how dangerous does this sound?
Yeah, this sounds like it's going to have serious issues.
So this is right from the beginning has medical claims. This person is telling people to stop taking prescribed antibiotics and to make whatever it is at home. So let's think about it this way. If you have something at home that someone told you is just as good or better than what your doctor is going to give you, are you going to go in to a doctor's office? Are you going to seek help?
Well, especially as, I've known some people who have serious distrust or even phobias about seeing doctors. So, yeah, there are definitely some people who would, look for some alternative that justifies them not going in to have a doctor look at what's bothering them. And usually that winds up with these things going on until they wind up going to the emergency room.
Yeah, this can be very dangerous because even certain diseases that we consider to be mundane, such as strep infections, those can lead to very, very bad complications. You can get heart disease from strep. You can get kidney disease from strep. Certain other infections can progress to meningitis. Like if you have a sinus infection or an ear infection that you don't fight off very well, can become meningitis, and that can kill you. So it's important that people know that they need to be evaluated for things and to not just take things into their own hands. Of course, if you have like minor cold symptoms, sure. Like if you have certain herbal teas or herbal remedies do you want to like try at home that aren't going to be dangerous, and that you can go in and talk to your doctor when something happens, okay, fine. But you need to know that there is a point where you need to go into your doctor, and these plants have activity. They function as drugs. Like they're not free of chemicals. They have activity. And so in that,
Well,
you
that's
need to
where
be
all of our
very
drugs come
careful.
from originally, is,
Exactly.
finding out what chemicals in plants have had some positive effects with helping people and trying to refine them to higher concentrations.
Exactly. Higher concentrations and standardized concentrations. So it's important that if you are going to be taking a natural like home remedy, that you talk to your healthcare provider and let them know, because there's a chance that it might interact with a medication that you're already taking, and it
Yeah,
can be
and
more problematic.
that is one of the big problems with the herbal medicine, is that it's hard to know what dosage you're getting of things.
Exactly.
So
That's
even
something we've
things
talked
that
about.
might be effective, if you can't judge the dosage or even know that you're getting a consistent dosage each time you take it, that can cause major issues.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the important thing with standardizing medications is exactly that. You have compounds that have mechanisms of action, they have activity. If you're going to find a plant in the wild somewhere, um, each plant is going to have different concentrations of active ingredients, and they also, a lot of these plants that have multiple functions, like if they are known to be antimicrobial antimicrobial or an antioxidant, or they have multiple things they can do, odds are they have multiple chemical compounds that are used for these. They're not just one molecule, they have lots of different molecules in them. And so you might have more drug interactions with the plant itself than you would with an isolated compound, because now you're getting multiple drug effects. When if you isolate the one compound you want, you're preventing extra interactions that you would get otherwise from a plant.
Yeah, well, and even more so if people are using several different herbal remedies, maybe for different conditions. Excuse me, how all of those are going to interact.
Yeah. So let's look into this. What are they going to tell people is a better antibiotic? And of course, they're starting off talking about antibiotic resistance becoming a threat to public safety. And I have some thoughts about this, but let's see what they say about it.
This is becoming a really big threat to public safety. This phenomenon occurs when bacteria that has been exposed to antibiotics begins to develop a resistance. This doesn't occur in individuals, but in the bacteria themselves, making it a health threat to anyone. According to the World Health Organization, antimicrobial resistance is present in all parts of the world, with new resistance mechanisms emerging and spreading globally. Luckily, Mother Nature has a few natural options that can still fight antibacterial resistant bacteria. Things you need to make your
Okay, so there's a huge problem with the premise of this video. And that is the fact that they're saying that antibiotic resistance is a problem, and it absolutely is. This is a problem that we cannot develop antibiotics quickly enough to target these microbes that are becoming more resistant to the antibiotics that we have. But they're suggesting here that we have a problem with antibiotic resistance, but so now we should use natural antibiotics. But these are also antibiotics, and any antibiotic is going to lead to resistance. This is evolution.
Well,
So
and
they're just contributing to the problem.
it also looks like she's about to propose that there's this one remedy that will work as an antibiotic for any germ you might encounter.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. When we're prescribing an antibiotic, certain antibiotics work on different bacteria and different types of organisms. They have different mechanisms of action. Some of them act on ribosomes, some of them act on cell walls. The ones that act on cell walls usually are going to be used on gram-positive bacteria because they have those cell walls to act on, whereas a gram-negative bacteria is not going to respond as well because you're not inhibiting the part of the cell wall that they have. So you can't have a one size fits all antibiotic. And she definitely is trying to say that you can do that at home. And the
Well,
fact
let's
that
see
it's
what her recipe
natural.
is.
Yeah, let's see what it is.
Your own natural antibiotics are 1 garlic clove, 2 tablespoons honey, 2 tablespoon ginger powder, half tablespoon ground chili peppers, half tablespoon cinnamon, 3 ounces fresh lemon juice. Instructions: crush garlic and set aside for 10 to 15 minutes. This activates its most powerful compound, allicin. Add crushed garlic, ginger powder, chili powder, and cinnamon to the lemon juice. Now stir in the honey. Let the syrup rest for 3 hours on a room temperature. Keep the syrup in a glass jar with a lid and store it in the fridge. Take 1 tablespoon daily to strengthen your immune system. If you're suffering from an infection, take 1 tablespoon of the syrup 3 times a day before each meal. Here is what each ingredient.
All right. So that's the recipe. We've got some ginger, we've got some garlic, we've got some honey, some chili powder. If any of these worked, we'd be probably using them already. In fact, we are using these compounds that they have in them, just extracted.
Well, and most of these are things that are, useful as preservatives in food. So they probably do reduce the bacterial growth rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is, I think we should get into what they're claiming each ingredient does, because I do have some thoughts on what she's about to say.
Well, and my first immediate thought is, why leave it at room temperature for 3 hours before putting it in the fridge? I don't see what that can do other than allow bacteria to enter into the solution before you try to keep it safe.
That's true. You actually are putting yourself at risk for food poisoning from it. That's a really good point. Yeah, and I guess we'll go into the next bit. I'll lump my thoughts together.
In the syrup does. Garlic. Garlic is both an antibiotic and an antiseptic, meaning that it is capable of preventing infection by inhibiting the growth of infectious agents, as well as treating an infection as it occurs. It even works against bacteria resistant to penicillin and amoxicillin. Recent research has shown similar activity to an antibiotic called chloramphenicol, used for typhoid fever as well as conjunctivitis.
So I want to talk about this because I was looking up allicin, which is the compound they say is responsible for antimicrobial properties in garlic, and they're comparing this to chloramphenicol, which is accurate. From what I could tell, it does have similar activity to chloramphenicol. But here's the thing: chloramphenicol is not the safest antibiotic that we use. There are a lot of known problems with chloramphenicol, and it's not one that we would just liberally give out to people. So its mechanism of action is binding to the 50S ribosomal subunits, so it prevents protein synthesis in the bacteria. And it's often used for things like Rocky Mountain spotted fever is like one of the big ones. It's also used for Neisseria meningitidis, so it can treat meningitis. It can treat strep pneumo, which can also cause meningitis. But there's some pretty severe side effects. Number one is aplastic anemia. So it can, because it's preventing protein synthesis, you can cause your blood cells to not be able to be produced in the bone marrow anymore. And that's a huge problem. It can cause something called gray baby syndrome. So you should not be giving this to, and of course, we're not saying don't feed your baby garlic, but if we're talking about taking this compound allicin in a high enough concentration to have these antimicrobial effects, you're at risk for gray baby syndrome. And this is because it's metabolized in the liver, and babies don't have a high concentration of UDP glucuronal. I cannot talk today. One of the enzymes. My brain doesn't work.
That's okay. You're saying words we don't understand. So,
responsible for producing bile in the liver and detoxifying drugs. But since babies can't really do that, it can cause toxicity and can cause babies to turn gray in color, and it's pretty dangerous. So these compounds aren't safe. Like, they're safe in small doses, like you have here, if you're eating garlic just in some food item, but taking it in high amounts to kill bacteria to use as an antibiotic is dangerous. So comparing it to chloramphenicol, I know that they're trying to make themselves sound medical, but they're actually not proving their point super well. And they're saying that, yeah, we should regulate this heavily, and it should not be something that you do at home.
yeah, and as far as not proving her point, in the picture you paused on right there, there's obviously mold growing on that bacteria that she's using.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good job. Good job, person.
Honey. Honey is an antimicrobial agent that can be applied topically for prevention or treatment of infections, including those caused by multi-drug resistant bacteria. It fights bacteria by acidity, osmotic effect, and polyphenols. These different methods make it harder for bacteria to develop resistance.
Not really. They can develop resistance to anything.
That's the first time I've ever heard anybody claim that honey was acidic.
Yeah, I haven't really heard that either.
While these different methods are highly effective in killing bacteria, they do not damage healthy cells. Ginger. Ginger is more effective than antibiotics in treating Staphylococcus
Wait a minute.
aureus and S.
While they're good at killing bacteria, they don't damage healthy cells. What about healthy bacteria?
That is my question as well. Yeah, because bacteria are also healthy cells.
And your body needs a number of different types of bacteria to remain healthy. If you kill off all the bacteria in your gut, you can't digest your food.
Exactly. And when you take an antibiotic, that's one of the big problems with getting infections after taking antibiotics, because you're killing all bacteria. You're not being, well, apart from those that are resistant, or apart from ones that aren't targeted by the antibiotic, but you're not differentiating between good bacteria and bad bacteria. You're killing all of them.
Yeah, it's not selective.
And so this is where you'd get things like C. diff. C. diff is a complication of antibiotic use, because you're killing off your gut flora, and then you're getting this overgrowth of C. diff. So that's not something that we really want to promote. But yeah, they're using language that's not very helpful and very vague. And I do want to talk about this ginger point here, because they're saying ginger is more effective than antibiotics in treating Staph aureus and Staph pyoreus. But I need a source for this. I need a citation, because the primary antibiotic, one of the most potent antibiotics that we use for treating Staph aureus, especially drug-resistant staph, is vancomycin. Vancomycin is only given in a hospital setting because it is a nasty medication. I doubt ginger could be as effective as vancomycin. Like, we need some sources on that. And I don't think, do they have any sources? Do they cite any sources in this video? They do not. They do not cite any sources except for image sources. Oh, and look, they have we'll go into the health disclaimer. But of course, they're saying all this stuff. Stop taking antibiotics because this homemade natural antibiotic is twice as effective. But then, disclaimer, the materials and information contained on Natural Ways channel are provided for general and educational purposes only and do not constitute any legal, medical, or other professional advice on any subject matter. None of the information on our videos is a substitute for a diagnosis and treatment by your health professional. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider prior to starting any new diet or treatment. Yeah, so they give this disclaimer that no one's going to read. They're not going to read their description, but they are going to look at this title and stop taking their antibiotics and start making this ginger honey syrup instead and think that it's going to cure their meningitis.
Yeah. I think the disclaimer should just be replaced with one that says, do not use our product if you can afford a lawyer.
Yeah. Or just like, don't listen to our advice because obviously there are people who know better than we do. Like, if you're not willing to take responsibility for your actions, you're not willing to be a healthcare provider. Like, and that's something that really, really grinds my gears about naturopaths and chiropractors and things. Like, when you take on the responsibility of becoming a doctor, you are taking liability for all of your actions. And that's why a lot of doctors aren't just going to be giving out random advice because they know under their license, if they're giving you advice, they are taking liability if something goes wrong. These other people, like, they want the authority, but they don't want the responsibility. So they have all these disclaimers, and it's really, really dishonest, and it kind of shows their intentions.
Well, they don't want to take the time to study all the stuff. You know, they don't want to take the 6 or 8 years to go through school to find out what really works.
Yeah. I guess let's finish up this video. And then the next video I have is going to really, really touch on that because the last video is scary. Like, it is scary what this guy says.
Pyrrheus infections. Ginger has been shown to have an antibacterial effect on respiratory and periodontal infections. Chili peppers. Unlike some natural remedies which rely on one specific genus of a spice, like cinnamon, different varieties of chili pepper have antibiotic effects. They have been used in Mayan medicine for thousands of years.
Oh, because it was old.
Cinnamon.
We should still use it.
Cinnamon has been found to inhibit growth of various isolates of bacteria, including gram.
So I would love for these people to, number one, cite their sources because they didn't. But a lot of the studies that talk about these properties, they're done in vitro. They're not done in vivo. You're not seeing it and its effects like on a living organism. So the amount that you can use of cinnamon, like let's say I'm doing a study to see if cinnamon can kill bacteria, and I put some cinnamon in a petri dish and I kill off all the bacteria. The concentration of cinnamon to the bacteria might be an astronomical amount of compound that would be toxic to a human.
Yeah, can you kill the bacteria without killing the patient?
Yeah, like you can kill bacteria with a handgun in a petri dish, but you're not going to use that on a live person. So I would love to see them, number one, cite some studies, and number two, cite some studies that would actually use an animal model or a human model and relay concentrations and what concentration would be needed to have these effects. They're leaving out a lot of really important details.
Well, like bleach will kill most any bacteria, but no competent healthcare professional will tell you to drink bleach.
Yeah, don't drink bleach, everybody. And it will not cure your COVID. Do not drink bleach.
Positive and bacteria and fungi, including yeast, mold, and dermatophytes. A study led by a team of surgeons found that a solution made with cinnamon oil killed a number of common and hospital-acquired infections, like streptococcus and methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus.
So they don't even cite a study. They just say a study done by surgeons. So they're using an appeal to authority because, oh, surgeons know everything. Surgeons don't treat infections. So that's not even really a credible source. I'm not going to ask a surgeon about antibiotic use. Like, every surgeon that I know, pretty much they use Ancef unless someone's allergic to Ancef. Like, they don't really deal with that. Like, give me somebody who is an internal medicine specialist or who does infectious disease, or someone who's a laboratory microbiologists. Like those people are going to be credible. A surgeon's not going to be credible on that.
Yeah, the infection is not something the surgeon deals with. That's whoever the follow-up doctor is.
Exactly. And I would love them to actually cite a study instead of just saying there was a study done. Actually, give me some sources, please.
Lemon. Citric acid from lemon juice has proven to prevent the highly contagious norovirus from infecting humans. It is considered to be a safe disinfectant to be used in the home and kitchen. Lemon essential oil is a mild antibacterial, antiviral,
Okay, that shot in
antifungal,
between, they were
and
using a lime instead
anti-inflammatory.
of a lemon.
For stronger
They
benefits,
were, yep. It was a lime.
include lemon peel in the remedy.
Okay, the next video is gonna be interesting. But all right, any thoughts on that video?
Just
With
don't.
antibiotics. Just
People
don't.
just don't pay any attention to that.
Yep, go talk to your doctor if you need an antibiotic, or if you, I don't know, have any kind of symptoms that would need help from a medical professional. If you want to make a honey syrup and just like, I don't know, drink it for funsies, like I don't think it'll be harmful to most people unless you're allergic to any one of those ingredients. Like, or if you wanted to put that in your tea, I mean, it might be a nice flavorful syrup to put in tea. Like, it probably tastes good.
Okay. Honey and ginger tea can help with some, very mild cold symptoms. Honey
Yeah,
is actually
absolutely.
rather good if you've got the scratchy throat.
Oh, definitely. It's very soothing. And yeah, and if you had this for mild things, that's fine. Because what we're saying here is that they're making some very big claims, and they're trying to use these remedies that should
Yeah.
be used for very mild things and trying to use them for very dangerous things.
Yeah, none of this is going to cure if you actually have an infection.
Yeah, but it can help relieve symptoms. So if you want to do that and you talk with your doctor and they say, "Yeah, this is fine," go for it. It's probably not going to hurt you in these small doses. Except for a Doom Bunny, because if you're allergic to citric acid, that might be a problem.
Well, and for me, I have to watch which type of honey. Because I'm allergic to clover, so clover honey is a problem. Apple blossom honey is fine.
See, there you go. So let's watch this next video, because this one really, I was getting furious about this video. So this is cleanse and detox liver with one herb and live a long health life, not even healthy life, health life. And this is by a chiropractor. And right away, we see the disclaimer on the screen that this is information only and not to be used for diagnostic or treatment purposes.
And I have to say, I've known people who've been helped by chiropractors, generally people who have had back problems. But if a chiropractor is claiming they're going to help with anything other than bone and joint problems, just leave. Find somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They should not be talking about your liver at all. And especially a lot of them are trained in a lot of pseudoscience. And you can tell as we listen to this guy does not seem to even know what the liver does. It's obvious from my perspective. It might not be obvious to the audience's perspective, because obviously he has over 33,000 likes. People are watching these videos, and people don't know how to sift out bad information. And this is why this is so problematic.
Well, and unfortunately, part of the problem is also with the American healthcare system that, a lot of people really can't afford to go and see a doctor. So they go online and they look up ways to treat themselves because, like, the insurance that my fiance had in New York was a $50 copay for every time she went to the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
As like some people just don't have the $50.
Exactly. And same thing with paywalls for studies. Like, we can tell people all we want that you need to look for peer-reviewed research, but so many of these are hidden behind paywalls. And if you can only access information if you have money, the majority of the population is only going to have access to pseudoscience because that's what's free. That's what is available to them. So we need to make this information more accessible to everybody.
Well, this is why we need a national healthcare program so that people can actually see a licensed physician when they need to, instead of having to resort to what they can find on the internet.
Exactly. So let's get into this because I'm gonna get very angry. I can guarantee that. I've watched some of this before. I'm gonna get very angry.
I want to say hello to everyone out there. Hope you had a pleasant day. Hope your night is nice and calm. Today, we're going to touch on something very important. It's all about detoxifying one of the most important organs of the body. It's the liver. And I'm going to mention the herb that I'm talking about. You can read it below. But this is something that I'm going to share with you because many of you are on pain medications somewhere along the line, muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatories. Not only you, but millions of people worldwide, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, degenerative arthritis. So let's go right into it and talk.
So right away, we have a claim about people. This is targeting people who are on pain medication. So we are targeting people who have chronic disease and who chronically take some kind of medication in their everyday life. And this is going to be a very important point as we move along. I don't need to go into it right now because this is going to be a very important point.
Talk a little bit about one of the most important organs of our body. It's the old liver. Let's give you a little insight on the liver. The liver is the largest glandular organ of the body, performs multiple critical functions. It helps keep our body pure. This is what filtrates the toxins.
So the liver keeps our body pure and filters the toxins. So I'm not convinced he knows what a liver is. What does it mean to purify the body?
Well, liver largely is a filter, right?
Yeah, it's a filter. He's using some of that vague like woo language. And like I'm sure maybe he's trying to appeal to his audience who wouldn't know specific functions of the liver. He's going to stay very vague with regard to the physiology.
This is what gets rid of the harmful substances, not only from the medications, but from what we breathe in, the pollutants, the foods, the additives, the toxins that come into our system. The average liver weighs approximately 3 pounds, located in the right upper.
He's already
portion,
throwing around
right
the
here in
toxins
abdominal cavity, right under that diaphragm area. The liver has 4 lobes. It receives about 1.5 quarts of blood every minute. So you could tell us that how important this really is. It is considered a gland, even though it's an organ. It does secrete chemicals and it produces bile. It's a substance needed to digest fats. This bile actually goes down into the intestine. It breaks up into smaller pieces so it could be absorbed easier into the intestine area. This, not only in addition to bile, but it detoxifies the blood. It gets rid of the harmful substances that we talked about, particularly alcohol, drugs. This particular thing is just an amazing, amazing organ. I just want to give you some insight to let you know that it has so many bodily functions, from hormones to cholesterol, and the list goes on and on. So I just want to give you just a basic understanding how important.
And I do want to emphasize the language here is different from how we would talk about this in the medical field versus how we would talk about this, how he's talking about this. So whenever he throws around the word detox or like talks about toxins, like we're mostly talking about metabolism. So it does not detoxify alcohol. It does not detoxify drugs. And he's also using drugs in a different way here. He's referring to recreational drugs, more than likely. When we talk about drugs in medicine, we're talking about any medication, any supplement is a drug. But we're not talking about detoxifying them. We're going to metabolize them because we're just going to convert them into something else, and it's either going to be useful still or it's not, because sometimes you metabolize a drug and it's going to be more active, or you can metabolize a drug and it'll be less active. But it's kind of a catch-all term for a lot of things that are going on, but detoxification of compounds is not something that we really reference.
Important the liver is, but I want you to understand that if you have, or if you are, or someone in your family has been taking medications, not only pain medications, but blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, obviously the liver produces cholesterol. So people say, well, I don't want to take so much cholesterol. Well, there's no known fact today in science that can tell you of cholesterol from food to blood cholesterol. In other words, there are people that take in so many eggs, eat so much meat that have low cholesterol. And there are other people out there that don't eat eggs, that don't eat meat, and are very, very aware of their nutrition and have high cholesterol. Now, that's another situation.
This is true. He is right about that one point, that there isn't a causal relationship between dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol. So he is correct there.
But again, remember the liver manufactures cholesterol. So that is one of the most important things I wanted you to bring out, because what this herb is about, it's called milk thistle. Now, this is a magical herb. Now, here is someone, you're
Magical.
looking at him.
Yep. It is a magical herb. So we have shifted now to magic. I can talk
My
about that in a little
bilirubin,
bit.
okay, was a little elevated. It's always been my whole life. It's still, there's what they call Gilbert syndrome, where many people have elevated bilirubin, and it's still normal. But every time I go on the milk thistle, it comes right down again. I have put hundreds of people, hundreds.
So Gilbert disease. Milk thistle would not help you if you have Gilbert disease. This is a condition where you're missing certain enzymes in your liver to be able to produce bile and filter out bilirubin. But milk thistle is not going to do anything for Gilbert syndrome. It's not going to replenish your enzymes. And I think let's talk a little bit about what milk thistle is. So milk thistle does have activity on the liver. It can be used for treating some liver disease. It can be used, some people use it for viral hepatitis. Some people use it for managing alcohol. The problem is that there aren't a lot of studies that actually show that it's a causal relationship. The studies that have been done are very limited. Like we have the one about viral hepatitis, had 16 patients. That's not very many people. They're not doing a very good job at working with variables. They're not.
Yeah, with such
controlling
a
for
small
lot of
study
variables.
group, it's really hard to isolate anything.
Right. So let's let him talk a little bit more, and then I'll reference a bit more of what he's talking about.
Of people who had all types of toxic problems on this milk thistle, and I tell you, about 90% of them is like magic. Let's go into a little bit about milk thistle to give you a little bit understanding.
So he makes a claim that this is an anecdote. He said that he's put hundreds of people on this milk thistle, and it was like magic. Does that sound credible to you, Purple?
Well, he's saying hundreds of people, trying to say that this can't just be an anecdote because it's worked so many times. But yeah, it's still, even for medical research, even a couple hundred is not really a big study group.
Yeah, and I'd like to know, like, So it works like magic. But what did it do? What did it do for these hundreds of people? If you had
Yeah, and
conducted
did he
is
document that that was the only thing they changed, or did they make
yeah,
other changes in their diet or something at the same time?
exactly. And I know anybody that I know that does research, if you've done legitimate research, you would be very willing to explain exactly what you did in your study and what results you were going for, what results you got, what the mechanism was of this supplement that you were trying out. You'd say, okay, well, it decreased somebody's LDL by 15%, or like, you'd be very specific about what happened. You wouldn't just say that it worked like magic and it helped them. Like
Yeah, you need
you need
some measurable
criteria.
results.
Exactly. And he's not bringing that here.
What it is, how it works. Uh, this has been around for ancient times. It's in the ragweed family. It's a flowering herb, primarily in the Mediterranean countries. Some people may call it holy thistle or Mary thistle, but you're going to see it called milk thistle. They use this for primarily liver problems. It detoxifies when we hear conditions like jaundice, cirrhosis, hepatitis, even gallbladder disorders. It's actually known to help lower cholesterol. It's actually known to help type 2 diabetes and cirrhosis. We find
That's a
people
big claim.
who are diabetic who have more higher cholesterol, but it actually has an effect on it. So the other main ingredient I wanted to bring out for everyone is silymarin. Now you sound silly, just remember silymarin is the main active ingredient in milk thistle. It is both an inflammatory, an anti-inflammatory, and an antioxidant type of thing. So that's why it has so many benefits. Just in summary,
Antioxidant type of thing. Yeah. So there's a lot of very vague things being brought up, like the antioxidant, like the antimicrobial, whatever. He's saying that this has effects on a lot of different liver problems. So liver cirrhosis, hepatitis, jaundice, these are not all the same thing. They have different ways that these come about. And jaundice is really a symptom more than it is a disease, because that's simply a buildup of bilirubin. You can have a pre-hepatic jaundice, you can have a hepatic jaundice, you can have a post-hepatic obstructive jaundice. Having jaundice and treating jaundice is not really something that is going to be a one-size-fits all thing. You have to treat the underlying cause of the jaundice. But hepatitis is an inflammatory process. Cirrhosis is an atrophic process. So he's trying to kill a lot of birds with one stone.
Well, and all these treatments that, excuse me, all these things that they always say have been around for hundreds or thousands of years, kind of miss that this was through the period that modern medicine was developing. So modern medicine has probably studied all these, and the ones that were effective have been refined. And if this has been around for hundreds of years, it's probably been studied and pushed aside because they couldn't see it consistently doing anything.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of the problems with this. I'll probably get to that. I'll let him talk a bit more before I get into the problems with milk thistle and why this can be dangerous for a lot of people.
yes, it is magic for the liver.
Well, he already
And
said
I
it's the
recommend,
ragweed family,
if you
so obviously it's something a lot of people are going to be allergic to.
Yeah. And he just said it's magic for the liver. That's his main like go-to phrase, is that it's magic for the liver. Sure, give me a mechanism of action. Don't just tell me it's magic.
ask me, I would recommend everyone to go on milk thistle. Now, you don't have to stay on this your whole life. It's good to go on like any other herb, maybe for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and get off a little bit and go back on. I don't believe living on herbs. I always believe in giving the body its own physiological healing, its own physiological rest, and anything too much is no good. But it's known to help people with type 2 diabetes. It's known to help people lowering LDLs, which is a low density lipoproteins, and cholesterol, which obviously is linked to heart disease. It's also known to, let me just grab this one quick thing so I don't.
So he said, this is the scary part of this video. He said that everyone should take milk thistle for a little bit and then get off. That is a very, very broad brush. And think again about the audience that he's trying to reach. He's talking about people with type 2 diabetes. He's talking about people with high cholesterol. He's already talked about people who are on pain medications. Something that all of these people have in common, they're all taking medications and they all have some kind of chronic disease process. So let me talk a little bit about milk thistle. So it does have some activity on the liver. What else is metabolized in the liver? All of these drugs that he just mentioned for all of these chronic conditions that he has mentioned. These all have metabolism in the liver. And when you have drugs that are all metabolized through the same process, you get competition. They all interact with each other. So, people who take milk thistle, they're going to have interactions with antipsychotics. It's going to probably increase the amount of these in your bloodstream because now your liver is having to metabolize milk thistle instead of metabolizing your drugs. So these drugs are going to be in your body for longer. And especially if you're taking more doses of these, it's going to build up in your system. You're going to be more likely to have side effects. But antipsychotics are some of these. Phenytoin is used for seizures. Halothane is an anesthetic, a general anesthetic, that it can increase your concentration of halothane. It can mess with your birth control and your HRT. It can mess with your cholesterol drugs. It competes with statins. So he's saying that people who have high cholesterol should be taking milk thistle, but it has known interactions with cholesterol meds.
Well, and he keeps saying that these things are known to help. So you should be able to provide a citation. If not an actual clinical study, you should be able to at least provide a citation to an article where a doctor said that this helps.
It also interferes with anticoagulants and antiplatelet drugs because these are often metabolized in the liver and also rely on coagulation factors produced by the liver. So clopidogrel and warfarin are also going to be interfering from this milk thistle. So he's targeting people with these chronic illnesses who already are on medications and now saying that everyone should be taking this herb when we know that there are drug interactions. So you should not be listening to stuff like this. Like if you want to be taking milk thistle, you need to talk to a doctor who knows you and who knows what medications you're taking and who can say, yeah, you have high cholesterol, but you're also taking this statin that's going to now interact with it. This is a problem.
Yeah, and you can have it, that may interact with other drugs, or it may just render your prescriptions ineffective.
Absolutely. And people who are on HRT, if you're trans, this could mess with that. This could make your birth control less effective. And he had that disclaimer at the beginning, but that's just to cover his butt because he just made a claim that said everyone should be taking this. He gave medical advice.
Yeah, he's just expecting by this time people will have forgotten the disclaimer in the first couple of minutes.
Yep, and then if anyone brings it up and tries to sue him, he can say, well, I gave the disclaimer. I told them not to listen to me. This is shady. I guess I'll let him keep talking about.
Don't lose this on you. But it's also known to actually boost up the immune system. It has so many amazing effects. When it comes down to side effects, I would tell you to always contact your doctor because if you're taking other
Now you get a
medications, like
disclaimer.
we say, all herbs affect different medications. Not that you'll have problems. I highly doubt it. Most people will take it into a capsule or teas. There are great milk thistle teas, really good ones, and they actually taste pretty good. You can look into that. But generally, I don't see many side effects. If you are breastfeeding, you want to avoid it. If you have ragweed allergies, you may want to look into this, as well as possible estrogen problems. But I always recommend to check with your doctor to make sure that you are not a candidate where it is going to give you any particular side effect. But this is something, again.
So it might give you side effects, but I highly doubt it. And then I don't think you'll ever have a problem. No one that I've given this to has had problems, but of course, talk to your doctor. Like that stupid BS disclaimer that he doesn't actually believe in because he's telling people that they're not going to have problems. When I just gave you all plenty of examples of problems that are caused by this.
Yeah, Jupiter, you came in a bit late. This guy's a chiropractor.
He does kind of look like a gym teacher. That's true.
Yeah. Why is it most gym teachers are like failed Marine sergeants?
I don't know, but that's like a good point. Oh yeah, something else about milk thistle is that if you have histories of hormone-related cancers, like breast cancer, uterine cancer, prostate cancer, all of these that have receptor activity that stimulates tumor growth, should not be taking milk thistle, especially like, and he even mentioned that he just said very vaguely estrogen problems. But it can also mess with your chemotherapies, especially raloxifene for breast cancer. It can inhibit that medication. So I think some people say that, or some sources have said that certain chemotherapies can be augmented by milk thistle, which could be beneficial in some cases, but also be very dangerous in some cases if you're augmenting something that should not be augmented. Or it could just interfere with your raloxifene, as raloxifene is metabolized by glucuronidation and not by CYP450. So you can have problems with your cancer meds. So basically, like, don't just listen to this guy without talking to a doctor. And maybe milk thistle is probably not the best for most people. I guess we can keep going on this.
This cleanses, it filters, it detoxifies the most important organ, as far as I'm concerned, in the body. I mean, don't get me wrong, all the organs are important, but this liver is known to work with all the organs. And if this.
So that's a statement that, like, it's like you don't know what you're talking about, because he says the livers are the most important because it interacts with all of the all the other organs. That's true of every single organ in the
Well,
body.
yeah,
They all
everything in your
interact.
body has to be balanced.
Yeah, and like even you could argue there, like some organs might seem to be more isolated. Like the eyeball is fairly good at isolating itself, but still you get effects from the rest of the body. If you have diabetes, you can get diabetic retinopathy because you have blood vessels connecting every organ together. Like nothing is in isolation. Your entire body operates under homeostasis. Your body is connected. It's dynamic.
Liver is unhealthy, then all the organs become sicker much easier. Now, people are going to ask me a few things about how much do I take, and I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to keep this nice and short and nice and sweet. So we look at the health benefits, as we just mentioned. There are many. But when it comes down to, your bilirubin high, your liver enzymes that are elevated, get on that milk thistle. It really
Do
is
not
an
get on the
amazing,
milk thistle. Do
amazing
not do
herb.
that.
It just cleanses. You're going to thank me. You'll be amazed that this is like magic. It just filtrates, it cleans, it helps rejuvenate the cells. Yes, we can live up to 10% of our liver, but you don't want to get that far.
Okay, hold on. Very important point here. If your liver is damaged to a point where your bilirubin's high and you're having liver disease, do not take the milk thistle. You need a hospital. Like you are at a dangerous point if you're getting there. Like the milk thistle is not going to, even if there are some benefits to the liver, it's not enough to help you at that point.
Yeah, if you've got that much damage, you probably need dialysis.
Yeah,
If you have a
Yeah.
cirrhosis or a fatty liver, this is something that's magic. You
If
know,
you have a
from
cirrhosis or fatty
cancers
liver,
to
you need
diseases,
medical
the
attention.
first thing that I would recommend anyone when it comes down to any type of toxic condition, because obviously disease is tied into toxicity, right into the
There he goes. There's a key woo phrase right there. Disease is tied into toxicity.
Oh,
Which I
that's
don't
what
even know what
tipped
that's
you
supposed to mean.
off. You know, the repeated "it's magic" didn't do it.
Yeah, all the woo phrases.
intestines, liver. You got to cleanse that liver. It's very important. All right, let's go into a few different things here. Just to wind down, you can see a little bit about the silymarin here, as well as milk thistle.
So now
You'll
he's gonna
see here,
sell
this is
it.
a double strength. This is 300 milligrams. The
Let me see
average
if
strength
Yeah,
is
this looks like
approximately,
just a
here's another
sale
one
pitch,
without,
so
but
I
I
think
don't
the
think
rest
we
of
need
the
to go any
video we can
further.
but the average
I probably don't need to watch the rest of the video because he's just trying to sell it. But I am gonna point out something here with these supplements. The dosage for supplements and the dosage for medications seems very different. So the supplements, when they're recommending them, they're going to recommend kind of a standard number of capsules for everybody usually. But when we're prescribing a medication in a medical setting, it's usually based on body weight. A couple drugs you wouldn't. A couple drugs you keep kind of a standard dosage. Like with statins, a lot of times they'll use a standard dose, but that's for people with very high risk of cardiovascular disease, and you just kind of need to suppress cholesterol production. But otherwise, drugs are prescribed based on body weight. So you'll take like a certain amount of milligrams per kilogram of body weight. They're not doing that with these supplements. It's just a standard dosage for everybody. But something that would work for my body size might not be effective enough for somebody of a larger body size. And likewise, if somebody is bigger, their dosage, like what would be effective for them, might be toxic for me because I'm small.
I've always questioned that, you know, on any kind of over-the-counter medicine, of why the dosage doesn't have a chart for body weight, because quite typically most of my partners have literally weighed twice what I did.
Yeah, and it does matter, and that's probably something to look into with over-the-counter medications. 'Cause absolutely, it does matter like that. So I think, yeah, I don't think we need to watch the rest of this, and we're getting kind of close to an hour and a half anyway. So what did you, any takeaways from this video today, or any of these 3 videos today?
Well, that whole thing about onions was just total garbage. Nobody should pay any attention to that at all.
Yes, I want all of you in the audience to go home, put an onion in your sock tonight, and then let me know how many bugs try to eat your feet.
Somebody had made a comment about that it was good if you didn't have enough ants in your bed.
That's true. Do we have any questions in the audience, since we have like a few minutes left? We keep chatting about this kind of stuff. So basically, don't go to the internet for medical advice. You need to find a credible medical professional that you can talk to about your specific case. And like Purple and I have mentioned before, like a lot of these plants and natural remedies do have some merit sometimes. Like they do have active ingredients that can have these functions that are beneficial.
They can be good for treating specific things. If anyone is telling you that this one herbal mix is going to treat dozens of different conditions, you got to be really suspicious.
Yeah, and they are going to function in a similar way to a medication, because like we were saying, you're going to be, when you're making a medication, you're extracting certain compounds. And so if you have a certain amount of compound in a plant, it's going to have similar effects. So you need to make sure that not only is the compound something that's good for your case, but is this a regulated amount? Can I get someone to monitor the amount that I'm taking? Can someone monitor my labs, make sure that I'm not getting any negative effects from it? So I don't have a problem per se with the herbs themselves. It's just the variability in what you get with them, and also with the people. Oftentimes, the people who are prescribing these herbal remedies don't have
Yeah.
a knowledge base to where they understand what they can do to you. And so, if you go to somebody who's not credible, then of course there's
Yeah.
a lot of risk.
I don't know why it is that chiropractors in particular seem to so often have a sideline in the herbalism or the homeopathics, because again, a chiropractor can help if you have problems with your back, if you have problems with your joints, that they're trained to help with. Anything to do with soft tissue, they really haven't had significant training in.
And they have a lot of pseudoscience, and with these herbs, most of the time, of course, most of the time in these doses, you're not going to get a high enough amount to have negative effects. So they can utilize the placebo effect a lot of the time, and people report that they're feeling better, so they end up trusting these people and taking these herbal remedies. And then the chiropractor or naturopath or whoever can sit back and say, okay, well, the likelihood of them actually having toxicity is super low, so I can look like an authority. I can make myself feel like I helped somebody and treated their issue,
Yeah.
knowing that there's very little risk. And then I don't know, they get to play doctor and not have
Well, and
the
not just the
liability.
placebo effect, but like Wayne was talking about the thistle and talking about alcohol and that. And it's like somebody who is aware enough that they're going to be taking the supplement is probably also going to be altering their diet because of that awareness.
This is
So
true.
whether or not they have the thistle is probably irrelevant. If they just did the other changes to their routine, they'd probably get the same effect without it.
Absolutely. So any final thoughts before we kind of close out for the week? All right. Well, in that case, everyone go find Purple on her weekly, was it bi-weekly chats? How often do you chat? I'll let you
Uh,
shill again.
Wednesdays at noon and Thursdays at 10 p.m. And then I'm usually also with the shills Saturdays at 6. And that's
All
all
right.
US Central Time.
Yeah, and so I have Purple's YouTube link in the description. So go give a sub, go like all of her stuff. And thank you all for joining us. It was a fun week. Next time,
Oh,
I
and one other thing I do need to plug is we're trying to put the schedule together for the annual Christmas
yes.
Day Marathon. We've still got a lot of time slots. We need a lot more volunteers to live stream for 2-hour slots, and then you pass it to the next channel. So it's not a big commitment. We just need people who can commit to a 2-hour slot on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
Awesome. Well, I'll talk with you all about that. But anyone else in the chat that has a channel that wants to get in on that, find Purple on Twitter. I think that's where you can talk about that. But
Yeah,
thank
let
you
me
all. Oh, you're gonna
just,
post
if
it
you
in the chat.
give me just a moment so I can just drop my Twitter link in the side chat. I've got to recover the link first. There we go.
All right. And then also I will plug something else. On December 9th and 10th, we are organizing a 24-hour fundraiser for Lavender Lady, who is in need of a kidney. So join us for those streams. If you have a channel, I think we have some slots open for people to stream during that period. I will be hosting trivia, of course, but it will be world religions trivia. We're going to see which atheist knows the most about world religions. So come hop in for that. It'll be a great time. And there's Purple's link in the side chat for the Twitter. So that being said, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next time if I can put my outro up. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye all.